Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have two very strange stories involving cryptid animals. One, a sea serpent, or rather, a kraken-like cryptid, and another, a mini Tyrannosaurus Rex seen in Texas of all places, folks. Both stories are incredibly strange and, well worth our time to look at. We'll start off with the story about the sea kraken, so let's get into this article titled, Ayia Napa, Sea Monster, Mythology or Living Legend. Indeed, folks, is this monster real or not? Let's read this article and find out. The creature is linked to another sea monster from Greek mythology called Scylla, which is described as having a giant torso, a serpent's body, and 6 dog heads. The Ayia Napa sea monster is said to reside off a popular tourist resort in Cyprus in the Mediterranean. Sightings of the creature have been reported most frequently around Cape Greco. Local fishermen have named it to Felico Terrace, the friendly monster. Some newspapers refer to it as the Cyprus Loch Ness. So, let's talk about that for a moment, folks. Is this monster related to the legendary sea monster Scylla from Greek mythology, folks? If so, maybe that means that these creatures have always existed, and maybe these sightings are so infrequent that most people think that these animals are just myths. Maybe Scylla was actually a real animal that basically was recorded, but was never seen more than once or twice, that basically just became a mythological creature. That is, if the Ayia Napa and Scylla are the same creature, folks. They might be, related species, or maybe they are just myths. Who knows? But I would not be surprised if such monsters and legends do have a root in reality, folks. Maybe one day we'll finally find out. But let's read through this article, and then we can discuss this a bit more. The creature is known to be harmless to local residents, but it has been known to drag away fishing nets. Although there are numerous sightings, no physical evidence of the creature's existence has been found. The creature is linked to another sea monster from Greek mythology called Scylla, which is described as having a giant torso, a serpent's body, and 6 dog heads. Indeed, folks, we read that before. And is it possible that, this and the, other monsters mentioned in this article do exist? But maybe the fact that they are so bizarre, with the 6 dog heads and serpent's body, maybe no one believes any signs of them at all. It could be the answer to this question, folks. But either way, let's finish off this article. There are very few photos or videos of the Ayia Napa sea monster, but the countless sightings have prompted the government to search for evidence of its existence. Even the Sci-Fi Channel's Destination Truth has sought proof of it. It was featured in Series 4, Episode 13. Tourists are taking boating trips in hopes of seeing this creature. Many hotels have been built in close proximity to where sightings have occurred. And this is all done so these people can become, experiencers themselves, folks, because everyone, I can imagine, wants to actually see and basically maybe even touch a mythological creature like the Ayia Napa or even Scylla itself. Though, from what I know about, Greek mythology, folks, Scylla is not something you would want to basically be near at all, because it's truly a terrifying and, very, very violent animal, or I guess in this case, a monster. Now, everyone, do you believe that the Ayia Napa actually exists? Now, in all honesty, folks, the ocean, this is probably where you would actually see and basically encounter such a creature. So maybe something like the Ayia Napa actually does exist. That is, if it's not some sort of misidentification of an actually known animal as science that people are seeing out there, folks. There's ever that possibility as well. But hopefully, maybe one day, someone will actually be able to prove that the Ayia Napa exists, and maybe one day we can all see it for ourselves. I can hope, folks, because I do think that the ocean could house such creatures like sea serpents, krakens from mythology, and maybe even wilder creatures down there that we have not even begun to imagine. Either way, folks, truly, I hope that one day we can prove that they do exist. Either way, folks, now let's move on to the next article, which is indeed a very strange one, folks, in which the witness encounters something I think most people don't even remotely think could be possible. Either way, the article is titled, Mini T-Rex Encounter Near Midland, Texas. And we have to ask ourselves, folks, this guy saw a mini T-Rex Was it actually some sort of misidentified lizard encounter, perhaps? Or maybe indeed this guy saw some sort of maybe mini Tyrannosaurus Rex. But let's get into the article now and hear exactly what the witness saw. In October 2014, during J.C. Johnson's appearance on Coast to Coast AM, a caller described a mini T-Rex encounter in West Texas. I have been reporting on the small dinosaur-like cryptid sightings in South Texas over the years. So apparently, this isn't just a one-time, sighting, folks. People have been seeing these mini T-Rexes or other, possible small dinosaur creatures continuously over the last several decades, perhaps. I'm saying decades because there's no way that this is a recent phenomenon. But then again, maybe it is, but I have my doubts. If something like this exists, it probably has been around quite a while. Because there's no way no one's ever seen these little creatures before, folks. Unless there's somehow, clones or something created in a lab and they somehow escaped. If so, folks, maybe that would explain it. Either way, folks, let's read the full account now. Dan in Bakersfield in California called in to tell of something strange he observed as a child. I want to tell you about something that happened to me when I was about 13 or 14. I was living in Midland, Texas at the time, and we would ride our motorcycles in the desert outside of town. We encountered, I don't know how to describe you guys. We're talking about a mini T-Rex. Is it from West Texas? Speaking to host Dave Schrader and guest J.C. Johnson. I remember seeing this thing, and it was probably about 2 feet high. It stood up on its back legs. It didn't have, fingers or like you'd normally see a T-Rex in the movies with 3 or 4 fingers. It only had 1 claw. We were running our motorcycles around and scared it off. I guess it was greenish yellow, I think, in color, and I never really thought about it. I just assumed it was some kind of weird, lizard, but I remember it was about 2 or 2.5, maybe 2 or 2.5 feet high when it stood up. When it stood up, it had this egg-shaped dome. The only thing I can say is that it did look like a T-Rex. It had an egg-shaped face or head. The caller talks about an old Art Bell show where a caller described an encounter with a T-Rex. There were 4 of us. We were about 13 or 14 years old at the time. We saw it was crawling along on all 4s, and as we rode up on it, it reared back, and it had these little tiny arms. It looked like a little T-Rex. So I honestly thought I missed it, or it was standing, or I didn't see it right until years later when I heard that call on Art's show. It was angry. It wasn't happy that I and my friends were riding our dirt bikes in that area. That sounds incredibly interesting, folks. Also the fact that once I basically was riding this, ATVs through this muddy area, and these black snakes were basically chasing me on my butt all the time I was in there because I really made them angry. If this creature, this mini T-Rex that this man saw was indeed some sort of lizard, maybe it has the same kind of attitude about people trespassing in its territory. So that is interesting. Either way, the source of this information comes from Coast to Coast Radio, October 26, 2014. There's also a note, folks, so let's read that now, too. Other T-Rex sightings and encounters in Texas, small living T-Rex dinosaur sightings in South Texas have also been noted as well. Much like the way people over in basically California and basically the states close to California are seeing basically pterosaurs, apparently down in Texas, people are seeing, dinosaurs, or at least this small variety of creatures that look like dinosaurs, particularly the T-Rex. But are they really, dinosaurs, folks? For all we know, they're some sort of robots, maybe created by maybe some guy, maybe a random inventor, or maybe there's some sort of, maybe illusions or something. Maybe these people made a mistake, and it was some sort of common animal, maybe some sort of, dog with mange, and they thought it was a lizard. Maybe it was deformed in some way. I don't know. All I can do, folks, is basically, theorize that these creatures, if they do exist, maybe there's some sort of interdimensional interlopers and they're trespassing here through another universe, or maybe they're basically, time-displaced animals. But why would they be so small, folks? Are they baby dinosaurs? Maybe, but from the descriptions, they sound like adults, but they're in the, very small variety. Either way, very interesting, but we're at the end. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video. Until then, folks, bye.